So by now, I hope you've heard that Covenant will be reopening for in-person worship on Sunday, May 23rd. And this video is just to clarify several of the details about that and to let you know what to expect when you come. So first of all, when we open on the 23rd for in-person worship, there's only going to be one service, and that service is at 9:15. So if you want to come for in-person worship, the time for that is 9:15. Now, if you're worshiping from home, or the office, or the shore, or the mountains, you can keep doing what you've been doing. The only change that happens on the 23rd is that the early service, instead of being at 8:15, will be at 9:15. At 9:15, you will see the same service that's going on in the sanctuary at that time. And at 10:45, you'll see a replay of that service. But at both times, the chat room will still be there to say hello to the other folks who are there in worship that day. And everything else is the same. You'll go to the same address and everything else. So online worship, the only change on the 23rd, again, is that 8:15 switches to 9:15. Now, if you are coming in person on the 23rd or on a subsequent Sunday, for right now, the first thing you have to do before Sunday ever rolls around is call. Call the church office at 610-544-1400 to reserve your place, because seating will be limited based on the current guidelines for at least the first couple of weeks that we worship. So if you want to come to service on May 23rd at 9:15, call. Call in the week leading up to that. Call now if it's even further away than that. Call 610-544-1400 and reserve your place. And remember that now that we're returning to church under the current guidelines, this becomes part of your Sunday best, a mask. Everyone who comes into our building needs to wear a mask. And that is true whether you've been vaccinated or not vaccinated. Right now, the current guideline is still masks in public places where we are close together. So masks will still be required. Now, of course, all these things may change in a few weeks, but this is how things are for now. So you've called, you've made your reservation, you've got your mask, you're ready for church. Now let's go see what it's going to be like when you get to church. You're used to coming into church through Wesley Hall from Saxer Avenue. Instead of going through the big double doors that you'll see in a moment here, we are going to ask that you come in through the smaller door to the right of the double doors. This door will be open for you to enter, or if there's a line, to wait to enter. And upon entering, we'll begin the process of being screened to come in for church. If you've parked in the parking lot, you can come into Wesley Hall through the courtyard and enter to the door to the left here at the end of the Epworth building. Either wait in line, or if there is no line, you can enter to be screened as you enter into Wesley Hall. The third option to enter the church if you've parked in the parking lot is to come down along to the new door by the elevator. Upon entering down here, there'll be someone at the door to screen you, and then you can take the elevator up to the sanctuary level. This direction also requires no steps to get into the sanctuary. When you come into Wesley Hall, you'll be greeted by a couple of masked members of the church who will be taking attendance, taking your temperature, and asking you a couple of questions about your health. At that point, you will be invited to give your hands a little spritz of hand sanitizer and then continue on in to the sanctuary. Upon entering the sanctuary, an usher will help you find a seat, safely spaced from the other congregants here for worship today. And then soon the service will begin, following the same format it has been following for the last several months. So once you are seated and the service begins, what can you expect? Well, because those who are leading worship will be more than 20 feet away from those who are here in attendance, they will not need to wear masks. So as you are here in the sanctuary, you will hear live the organ music or piano music, whatever's being utilized for that particular day and that particular song. You'll be able to see the people reading scripture from the lectern. You'll hear the pastors preaching or speaking from the pulpit and probably preaching right here from the middle, just as they have been. That's for the benefit of the folks at home. And you'll also be here to experience any special music live as it happens as well. Now, we will not have hymnals in the pews because group singing is still not encouraged, either by the larger church or by the CDC. So everything here will be the same as it has been for you at home, except you can be here live and in person, with the one drawback, perhaps, that you can't sing along or you shouldn't sing along with the hymns. Now, if you do like singing and you want to be here in person, there is always the role of being the song leader, where you could come up, make sure to check with me ahead of time, you could come up and you could sing the hymn from the lectern or from the pulpit for the benefit of those folks at home. The service will follow the same format initially, and when the service is over, we ask that you leave promptly. And if you wish to talk with other folks who are here, we ask that you wait till you get outside to visit with them. Leaving, you do not have to leave through the same door you came in. If you don't want to, you can go out through the double doors in Wesley Hall. But we just ask that everyone move along for safety's sake. And this is how it'll be for at least the first couple weeks that we get back together. We'll see how things go. I always like to say the last thing written in stone was the 10 Commandments. And we know even those stones didn't last very long. So everything is in flux as we learn more, as we experience more. But we hope that if you feel ready to return to worship, that you will consider doing that. Just some final thoughts on why we're doing things the way we are doing them. Shortly after the pandemic caused us to close our doors, it was clear we were going to need to be really thinking about how to reopen our doors in a safe way. And I want to thank the people who responded to the call, the invitation that went out to the congregation to be a part of the Health and Safety Task Force. It's a mix of people who have medical experience, who have safety experience, and people who just have a concern for their brothers and sisters in the church and the community, and were willing to read things and listen to things. And together, we came up with the protocols that we put in place for groups as they came back to using our space, and the protocols we put into place, both for determining when we would be ready to open for worship and how we would do that when we did. It may feel like we've been more cautious than businesses in the community or other organizations in the community or even other churches in the community. But we have chosen to be more cautious, to err on the side of concern for our neighbors, rather than err on the side of our eagerness to just get back to the way things used to be. And that's been challenging for some of us on the team to move as slowly as we've moved, because there are many of us, and I'm sure many of you, who are generally confident that, oh, this isn't going to get me, or I'm being careful enough as I am. So we have moved deliberately through this process, but also have sought to respond to changes as quickly as we can. That being said, remember a church, if you want to compare the church to a watercraft, church is a lot less like a jet ski, which can stop and turn practically on a dime, and it's a bit more like an ocean liner. It needs a little bit of time and space to turn around. So what we're doing these first couple weeks of worship, we may be changing as soon as after a couple weeks. And some things that maybe we could change right away might just take us a little longer to make it our new routine. But we trust that God understands, and we recognize that worship is something we do for God. And we are seeking to honor God in worship. And we've made our choices around worship, seeking to honor God, but also remembering that God's other great commandment is to love our neighbor as ourselves. And so we have tried to demonstrate our concern for our neighbors as well in how we have made decisions. We are all eager, and I am just as eager, or perhaps maybe more eager than many of you, for things to return to as close to how they used to be as they can. I've been with you now for more than a year and a half, or nearly a year and a half, and haven't had an Easter service in your presence yet. But we're going to continue to move carefully and cautiously and still responding as quickly as we can. If you want to see things return to normal as quickly as you can, please get vaccinated if you haven't gotten vaccinated, and encourage others to get vaccinated, because I think a lot of the final steps in things getting back to as close to normal as they may be, I think we're going to live in a world with a little bit more caution moving forward, is when communities reach a certain percentage of vaccination levels. So that's a really key thing, I think, to encourage people to get vaccinated. So thank you. And again, if you're planning on joining us for worship, please call the office before 2 o'clock on Friday and let them know how many people are going to be coming for worship in your group. And if you're not ready to return yet, that's fine too. We're going to be continuing to offer online worship. We recognize that service is as meaningful as an in-person service can be. So thank you. Continue to hold the church, hold those in leadership in our community and in our nation in your prayers, that we might continue to move forward in a way that demonstrates real love for our neighbors.